Well, well, well. Have we here? A Hell Knight in the Maclab Vault. I don't get it. Don't see the connection. Don't worry, my friends. I will free you. I could dig you out now, but you're not worth a dig charge, so. He tried to mutate me, that guy. And I said, hell no. Gosh darn it. Well, that's fine. There's an executioner. There's a really great orb. Great orb. What a great orb. There's the altar to the demonic one himself. Lightning rod. Got some evokers. I guess I gotta fly over here. Or what? What's going on with this? Huh, oh, it's like the back door entrance. Well, not really. It's just gotta go back. It's like the little dungeon area. You are free, my brothers. There are monsters nearby. Well, that was that. Got the shock wasps. I've got my... Oh, I can also just go invis. But apparently I'm too lazy to do that. Okay, that's the... It's the Zot Vault. Where's my gold dragon, damn it? What is a triple sword? Well, watch this helpful video. I think it'll pretty much explain all you need to know about what a triple sword is. It's very informative. Prepare to learn something quite valuable. Oh yeah, this song. Metal Squad. But to answer the question more seriously, it's like the highest. Can you do the same thing? Sure. I would. It just costs too much piety. Sorry, I can't right now. But no, it's just the top tier in terms of base damage. Two-handed long blade. In this game, so it's like the highest base damage two-handed longsword that you can get. Ooh, antique armor shop. What do we got? Shield resistance. That's a fun shield. I ain't using no shield though. Better have a gold dragon in here, you draconians. I'll be very upset with you if you don't. Oh, there it is. It left the scales, folks. Dev RNG is real. The dev tools, they're real. It's all real. Hacked the game. Broke the RNG. Game literally unplayable without dev tools. This guy's like, I'll duck around the corner. That'll show you. Then I'll peek around the corner. Then I'll duck around the corner again. This game will go on forever until you die of old age. It's the perfect plan. I mean, he's always had a simple RC file without too much stuff. He also plays on console, so you know, I'm actually playing on console right now too, but I'm streaming the tiles output, and you can see my console output in the upper right. You should be able to. My stream is working, yeah. You don't need a really fancy RC to be good at this game. It's just some sort of nice ooh, nice. Potion shop's always good. Sure, we'll take cancellation. I was hoping to see some another cancellation, sure, why not? Agility, yeah, we'll take that too. I was hoping to see some haste, but it's alright. And might would also be good. You can check out my RC. Mine is a pretty complicated one. It certainly has really good settings, but if you want, you know, if you just want a good set of settings, mine definitely has it. But it's a much longer one. It has some extra bells and whistles. Did this song loop twice? I feel like it's normally over by now. Not that I'm really complaining because it's a great song, but so the Zot Vault came through with the GDS. Didn't even bother putting on RF. No, don't target myself. Don't like targeting myself. Oh, and there's another one. Not that we need to. Second one drops scales too. That dev RNG, it's so strong. I might have to turn down the dev tools a bit. Fighting Zero Moose. We got quite a lot of skulls actually. We're going to be able to make it max enchant. 1 point off, plus 13. Yep, the dev tools never fail. Triple sword. Triple sword of flaming. I'm trying to see if I can make a backup. I have we don't have a lot. We have 3. Was that one 2? Oh, okay. What's up, 3Dog474? Welcome. About to make some. I guess it's just gold. Da 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 da. Repeat, 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 repeat. Get ready for this huge AC. Oh, it's really. Oh yeah, let's stop. Oh, it's only 12. Oh crap! I was thinking of crystal plate. Jesus, yeah, no, that's the max. Wow. Okay, never mind. Look at that. Goodbye, plate of armor of the marbles. You served us very well. I'll always remember you. I actually cannot enchant anything because everything is max enchant. Almost 50 AC. Oh, armor's done. I really should have stopped that at 19. That was a waste, but oh well. Want to play VpCK? Oh, that's interesting. Must have ended. Well, I know somebody I'll send you all over to. See what amazing emotes he has actually. It does not have a well. Yeah, the new vampires are pretty cool. They just got merged into Trunk 3 dogs, so you can play those as soon as I guess CWZ updates. I also have a plans for Sif Muna rework. I have not yet started the patch, but there's some basic agreement between people I've talked to about what she's going to look like. Thinking, I don't know about the final piety levels, but moving channel to maybe 2 stars, removing divine energy, so the active channel at 2 stars. Giving this new cast spell regardless of fail rate from your spell library ability that's going to have a high piety cost, something like Zen Sanctuary levels, so it's not something you can spam, but you can use it. And that might be a 5-star one. Might shift the book gifts down a little bit to a bit. Could do something like 3-star. I'll ask about that. No, there's no head developer real lover. There's just a big old dev team, a lot of people that are. There's a few of us who are active. You know, maybe a core group of say 8 people who are active, with a few of us who are sort of relatively highly active. And it's actually a huge team of people, but it's just people stop. You know, over time they kind of move on and they get busy in real life and stuff. And since it's an open source project, it's sort of the active dev team kind of shifts over the years. But there's no head developer. Yeah, it should be fun. You're just, the way it's going to work is you're going to cast you use it and it will pull up like the spell library interface, and you'll cast the spell right from your spell library. And so and regardless of fail rate, but it'll just have a very high piety cost. And we might change the book gifts. Oh, the other thing is Sif's piety gain is just going to be normal and not the weird skill training system that is flavorful but sadly just does not work well gameplay wise. So she'll have normal piety gain for, you know, piety on kills. She won't have divine energy, rip divine energy. That was kind of a fun ability, but the channel is mostly the same idea, and she doesn't really need 2 of those. So that high level thing will replace her miscast protection. So she won't offer passive miscast protection. She'll just have this higher tier ability. We probably want to shift the book gifts if we do this, though, now that I think about it, because she's only going to be channel for a while, so we really might need to shift those book gifts down, which other people will certainly really like. Maybe down to 3 stars or something like that, just so she can do something before you get that ability, because otherwise it'll just be like channel for a really long time. Sound is actually, there's been a little bit of progress towards sound. There's a, for the offline client, there is basic sound support. The problem is we don't have the sound library set up, and we don't have the triggers fully set up. But the real thing is we'd wanted to support online play, but we really need. There was a group of people who are musicians headed by one guy who was talking about making music for Crawl, and that nothing really came of that. So some of the components are already there, but it's definitely something people are interested in. So I wouldn't say that it's not going to happen. It's just somebody has to roll up their sleeves and do the final work. Yeah, it's a hassle. I mean, it introduces some quote unquote interesting decisions where you have to like say, okay, well, I'm just going to train more skill just because I really want to get spells, but it's just not a very interesting decision. It's a pretty silly. You end up making really silly decisions. Better to focus on the fun part of Sif. So she'll become a slightly more active ability, which is kind of nice as a counterpoint to Vehement, who is all completely passive, and Sif is more of an active ability god, or at least has more of that, so that'll be fun. And it will functionally make her a bit stronger because her piety gain's not going to be so bad. New branches, there's definitely a lot of interest in that. I haven't had, due to work, I just haven't had a lot of free time. It's definitely, I was talking about that earlier in the stream. What I'd like to get more in this release are a couple rounds of God Reform, so I'm going to start with Sif, and hopefully I can maybe get to a Fedos rework, because that god is not in a good situation and hasn't been for years and years. A new branch is a big thing. I mean, the Gauntlet portal is like a new branch, and that was a lot of work for 023. It's highly non-trivial amount of work to make a new branch, because it usually involves making a bunch of monsters and shifting monsters around. And for what I want to do with branches, I wouldn't want it just to be like, oh, it's the desert branch and the monsters are like scorpions and like it's stuff you'd find in the desert. You know, I'd want it to be something really interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's some of that now in the way it randomizes which ones you get access to. There's a limit to the fun of that, because the way it works now is that you have some choices, you have a fixed number of choices for your first rune, you only have a couple thrown at you. Usually there's one that's clearly easier, especially if you get shoals. Although you can enter and do the first 3 levels almost interchangeably, depends on the character a little bit. And then for the third rune, you do have at least sort of 2 generally good options in Vaults and Slime. But a lot of the other branches are just extended ones. Like most, the Hell branches, Pan, really Abyss for most characters is just much worse than Slime, than Vaults or Slime for a third rune. So the game is not truly well set up for that for the normal game. For extended play, you have more that we could do, but we kind of need to reform extended in a whole host of different ways. It's definitely an area of the game that just tends not to get a lot of attention because we focus on the 3 rune stuff. But for randomizing the other branches, they would need to work as like a 3rd rune branch or a 2nd rune branch, and there's not a lot of candidates. Like Tomb is too dangerous, and Hell and Pan are really, they're all set up to be extended ones. They're not viable for 3rd, so if you start throwing those in as the 3rd rune and requiring it to enter Zot, then it's like you have to build a character. Oh, I got Tomb. I've got to build a character that I got Tomb and like, I don't know, Hell branches. I've got to build a character that's like a a character that can survive that, and it limits what you can do for just winning the game in terms of how you can structure your character, because you need to have certain things for those really super nasty branches. I will say that some people have talked about taking some branches like Tomb and actually making them more designed as a 3-rune branch, which, if you did some of that, could make that idea more interesting. But they're currently set up to be extended branches. Tomb is sometimes brought as an example, like, why not make that a viable 3rd rune and nerf it so it's not as bad, and it could be a possible alternative. If you had some of those branches set up like that, another branch that was set up possibly to be a first / second rune, then it could be good. But we don't have a lot set up that way. A lot of them are, most of the runes are extended runes. From Abyss to Hell to Pan, that's a ton of runes, and they're all just full of post-game monsters that are too strong. Anyhow, some good questions from chat. Yeah, you can have characters that can, like, Kiku gives you Torment. I mean, I wouldn't call it very viable because it was still smite all over the place back when it was sort of easier. Yeah, there's kind of, Checkers had this plan. I think he's still working at Checkers, aka Alex, was to give level themes, which is kind of what you're talking about in a way, where you would get a level, and the worst example to give, but it's simple to understand, but this is one I would reject, is where it's like, oh, it's an undead themed level. All the there's a ton of undead on the level. So you would go down to like D12 and it would get this special chance that the level would be themed this way. And then there would be other themes, like one might have, he gave an example of one that had like restricted Los, a level that had restricted Los or something like that. So you could kind of, like if you've ever played Spelunky, and you would get themed levels in that game where the level would have like some special extra set of monsters, or some, in Spelunky you can get a dark level where you get flares, something analogous to that. But that would just be something that could happen in some branches to a level independently of anything else. Having the vestibule. Yeah, I'd have to know a little bit more exactly what you're proposing, Iggy. It's easier if you do yeah, you might have to write up what you're talking about so I can understand the details of it. A little bit of specifics. You have to be careful about anything that starts throwing a whole bunch of new monsters into the mix. So if you have an idea for some kind of, you're calling it a biome or a theme or whatnot, if it's going to use existing monsters, which monsters it's going to use, picking those has to be done kind of carefully. If you want to throw in a ton of new monsters, that's always a problem, because Crawl is just full of monsters that are not actually all that well differentiated from each other if you really look at it. But yeah, I would say generally to all the people asking about this and who have ideas, there definitely is interest in making branches feel not like they're just this shifting from a simple set to some other set, and stuff that encourages alternate paths through the dungeon could certainly be very cool. It does have to be done carefully and well, so that there's not comically obvious. I mean, there's a comically obvious order. You shouldn't call it comically obvious, but there's a relatively obvious order to the dungeon now. It's fairly linear. but you don't want to do the sort of thing where it's like, okay, here's your option. A is relatively easy and B is ridiculously hard. So you're pretty much always going to choose A if you want to win, and you're going to choose B if you just want to do silly stuff. It actually has to be like these have relative parity to each other type thing. Yeah, if the decision to where to go for a rune could be an actual kind of decision based on what your character is. Some of that is dovetailing with the ideas I was talking about unique mechanisms for branches, where you go to a branch and this sort of thing happens. I was talking about how desert would have the this was Mikey's idea, and it was just one where you would have hallucination monsters unless you were near the stairs oasis. Some of that could dovetail with like having a character that can survive some kinds of situations, and they wouldn't want to go to that branch because they can't really deal with, say, the desert hallucinations because of, because they can't deal with mobs. But you have to be pretty careful about actually making that be a real influence, where it's not just, okay, this one's really just hard and this one's really just easy, so if you ever get that choice, pretty much for all characters, choose the easy one, don't go to the hard one. See you later. Yeah, and resists are tricky too, because the thing that a lot of people point out with resists is like, oh, do I need this resist to win? And the answer for a lot of experienced players is no, you don't. Like, good examples are R poison for places like Spider and Snake, where even in Spider or Swamp, for example, you just don't need those resistances to safely beat the branches. If you go to Zot and have to deal with Orbs of Fire, you really do want to have RF. That's one of the best resistance examples. But making those resistances really be a thing is it's something that could be done, but it has to be done not like it's a really strong convenience if you have our poison, but it's not required. And that's the kind of current situation with, like, say, our poison as the best example, because that's the one that people cite a lot. They're like, oh yeah, you gotta have our poison if you go to Spider. But you don't. You just gotta rest more and maybe lure a little bit more. It doesn't actually prevent you from not going to those places and being completely safe. It just changes sort of the level of care with which you play, and often not in a great way. So you kind of like, God, at least I have it so I don't have to rest up so much when I'm fighting these spiders and stuff. Yeah, playing with level structures can be a good way. How open is it? What kind of layout? So it had that can be a really nice way. That does tend to intersect a bit with character decisions. Melee characters having fewer options for dealing with stuff at range. Range characters not being able to let stuff get close to them, stuff like that. That can be a pretty good way to introduce something that's it doesn't stop you from doing those levels, but you can kind of be cumulative with some of those effects, mixing up the terrain, mixing up the enemy profile, and sort of being a branch that kind of punishes squishier stuff that does ranged, versus that too is like a delicate balance. But yeah, really interesting branch ideas, if you can write them up. Even if we don't take it wholesale, we always can look at them and sort of say, well, there's some good ideas here. There's a lot of interest in it overall. That defining top players is the tricky part, Rainy. You have to define what you mean by that. The CAO scoring pages, you can kind of just browse through those. Do I have that linked? There's a whole bunch of different tables. Yeah, this is the perfect page. So this is a starting page. You can check out. It's the official like scoring web pages. Check out that has just a big set of tables of like some top things like high scores, fastest, real-time, turn count. A lot of those are kind of flawed listings. Like the fastest real-time, those are all bots, RC bots. The streak listing is actually broken. Elliptic streak at number 2 is the actual longest streak. There's some problems with these scoring pages, basically. But you can hit at the top right, there's a table of contents with a few different pages. You can look by high scores and stuff like that and look for streaks. A lot of it, some of it you need to query through SQL to filter out bots, especially for like real-time stuff. Top players is like players ranked by total score, which is like cumulatively a lot of wins and for points, so Yermak is at the top. But it's kind of complicated because there's a lot of different ways to define it. Oh yeah, no, it doesn't just link those people. There's not really a lot. There's a live listing that is across servers that you can find on the homepage, but it's just like a real-time listing across servers. It's not going to notify you. That's some stuff that would be fun to have as infrastructure, but we don't quite have anything like that yet. Let me check something out. Okay. Kitty band is task only. Well, that was a good good chat about dev stuff. Enjoy some Phantasy Star 4 shop music until I get my great. I need to find somebody who's got the OST for Forgotten World so I can find another copy of my end theme. I'm sure it's online, but the original video got deleted. Gonna send you guys over to Metroid McFly, who is doing the grind for Solomon's Key world record. I think Yogi has the record. Yogi the Monk, another fellow roguelike player. McFly does not do roguelike so much, but he is a absolutely outstanding player at both Solomon's Key and as a NES Metroid speedrunner, just like the record holder in so many categories. I think he's got the current records in Metroid too, and Solomon's Key is a really neat NES game that Yogi the Monk and McFly have been playing together, and I think they've traded the record. It's a really cool kind of load runner. Yogi went back to high school. Yogi went back to anime high school. And yeah, I can link the, well, it depends on how you want to go about this, honestly. Like, this thing is not the best to look at. There's this. Yeah, that's spectators for that particular server. And each one of those has their own lobby. That is a listing that goes across servers. It sometimes takes a while to load. You can also look at just the homepage, crawl.devels.org. It does have a listing too, which I think it's a sample though. Although current live games looks like it's down. I need to look into that. We need to fix that. Yeah, I'm gonna raid him, Iggy. Do a raid. But yeah, thanks for the link. And raid message is gonna be Solomon's Crade, and I think it's Cool Crade. So when you end up over at McFly's chat, please put that raid message in there. Give him some support. Check out his stream. It's a really neat game. Solomon's Key. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'll finish this run probably this week. Maybe a stream maybe tomorrow even, because I just don't have much. I'm just a little bit tired right now and want to get some rest and stuff. But I'll be back very soon. maybe tomorrow, if not 2 days from now, and we'll just finish up this run and start something else. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Check out some McFly, and I'll see you all next time.